Hey, this is Ashley. I'm the founder of Cannabis Nursing School. We are launching today. And I'm really excited because we are launching our 6 week accelerator program for nurses who are interested in learning more about cannabis medicine and how to incorporate it into their program. But enough about me. It is 420. We are excited. We are celebrating today. And I have been here all day. But right now, I have Regina. She is going to talk more about community and how necessary it is for the community to get together to help support the narrative around cannabis medicine and even just small business and all these things. So I'm gonna let her tell her own story. The other thing I want to point out before I give her free reign to go, um, she is in the South, so
Yes.
like every time I talk to somebody who lives in the South, I mean, you do happen to be in a state that has a program, but a lot of people be like, well, I can't do anything because I live in the South, because it's not
Mhm.
accepted, because it's a stigma. At the end of the day, there's a stigma everywhere. Like everything around this plant is a stigma. And so, in a lot of ways, I feel like it's even more important in those more southern regions where it's a little bit more constricted, that we kind of step outside the box and let people know that it's possible to do something, because at the end of the day, people are consuming it, whether it's legal or not. Our
Yes.
patients need us, whether it's legal or not. And so, especially if you're in a state that doesn't have a program, you have a strong legacy market, whether you know it or not, you
Mhm.
know? So, anyway, I'll let you kind of go from there because I can rant on. But this is Regina. She has an amazing event coming. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, hello everyone. I'm Regina. I'm from Mississippi. Actually, around the Gulf Coast. Goche actually is where I live. I'm from Morris Point. I am a nurse, a registered nurse, and I also am the founder of Herbal Health Consultant. And what my business does is we pretty much connect the community with cannabis and how it's effective in their life. We offer some alternative therapy where we actually just kind of coach them through, talk about microdosing, just trying to help them relieve a lot of the things that they have going on. Um, Connecting the public is my thing. I believe in public health. It's so important. You have a lot of people in the community that don't understand the way that our endocannabinoid system works. Some people don't even know that we have one. Just some people have never been into a dispensary, so they don't know what to expect. So what we do is we make sure that their experience is one of the best ones they can have in healthcare. And so that's me. We got an upcoming event coming up. Canna Fest is actually in Biloxi, Mississippi. It's definitely a great vibe, a great time to get educated, not only on just cannabis itself as a medication, but also about the cannabis industry. And that's why it's so important for the community to understand that as well. We have social equity, social justice, talking about people who are incarcerated for this plant, and we now know and we've been knew that it's actually medication. So that's about me. Like I said, I have the event coming up, and then we also have kind of health, and that's one of the things that I feel is most important. um Connecting the community with this event, my hopes and my goal is for them to walk out of there and understand what cannabis is, how effective it is, how beneficial it could be to them, and they won't have that stigma that a lot of people have. So I'm welcoming the elderly. I'm welcoming some people don't realize people with epilepsy. You might have kids that need educated about this medicine that we have at our hands in the state of Mississippi. So
Yeah, you said a lot in like literally 4 minutes. Like that was a ton. Um,
I got a lot going on,
no,
Ash.
no, no, it's all good. It's all good. I want to kind of peel back some of the layers because you mentioned let's talk about the endocannabinoid system. You mentioned the endocannabinoid
Yeah.
system. What is the importance of the endocannabinoid system for the community? What do they need to know?
They need to understand that, a lot of people take medications for anxiety, depression, all of these medications to treat those type of ailments when actually the endocannabinoid system is so important because we have those receptors. And what's happening is we're taking the phytocannabinoids from the herbs from the American medical plant, and we're actually causing an interaction in our body. Something that's already there is just heightening. And
Mm.
so they need to understand that we have to get them the science behind it so they can understand exactly what's happening and why they feel the way that they feel. You have people that, maybe consuming and have a bad trip because they were taking the wrong dosage. We have to talk about microdosing. So those are the things that we plan to have at this event, Kind of Health, just to connect, so the patients that actually know, or potential patients, or even the ones that are just curious, to have the opportunity to get that information that they need.
Yeah. And have you noticed any specific, like any resistance when you start having some of those conversations?
Sometimes, most of the time, I can pretty much have a great conversation. I think it's a lot of people in healthcare. I think one of the issues in Mississippi is we having a hard time getting practitioners and doctors to get on board. So there's still a lot of stigma inside the healthcare, area, and that's one of the things. That's one of the barriers that is challenging for patients. Is not having not they have the qualifying condition. It's just not having a physician to actually certify them.
Really, that's so interesting. So I feel like we have an overabundance of certification, but not enough education here
Right.
in Maryland. And so, what is that experience like for the average consumer in Mississippi?
The coast, I think we have connected. We're starting to connect. I have Dr. Truly. I have quite a few collaborators that will actually, work together and get those patients in to get certified. I
Mhm.
think it's just the patients have to come, right? They have to come. They have to actually, come to their appointments. And then I think the price, you got to think about it. Basically, people live off SSI. And
Mhm.
so you have dispensaries that, a 3.5 is going for like 60, $70 for someone who had lives on what, $700 a month, and they have to pay their rent.
Mhm.
So I think those are some of the barriers and the challenges. And I just think that, having that access to physicians and nurse practitioners in the community. They don't have to go and drive 45 minutes to an hour when, gas is an issue as well.
Yeah, and it is a privilege to get access to cannabis medicine just because of the fact that it is a cash system. Like you only can pay cash for it.
Right.
And a lot of people just don't have that, to be honest with you. And so I guess that kind of circles back into why community support is so necessary and having community
Right.
events. What are your thoughts on that?
I think community.
Uh,
Oh, there I go. Community events gonna bring a lot of knowledge. We'll be able to talk about, you know, actually reinvesting into the community. Cannabis is a high tax bracket. It brings a lot of revenue. So
mhm.
if a small community can come together, and support dispensaries and support the cultivators in that area, because this part of Mississippi is actually very industrial. There's a lot of land here. It's a lot of elderly people that own land. It's a lot of family that own land. So, we can actually cultivate. We can go back to the way that it was because we Black and Brown started it, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
We had a lot of knowledge there. So I just think that by them having that connection and understand how the cannabis industry can just be beneficial not only to the patient but to investors and as well, and bring revenue. School systems will get better. It's a struggle here, so that will bring a lot of revenue. It will bring the patients, to feeling better. So it's a win for everyone.
You
And
brought
so we
up,
got.
yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, because if you're able to bring in, and especially since the pandemic has come, a lot of resources kind of were
Limited.
lacking. And so
Right.
I feel like that's a lot of the reason why our states are considering implementing cannabis programs is to increase that state revenue. You also mentioned social equity. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Because you can't really talk
Absolutely.
about cannabis unless you talk about social equity. So
Absolutely.
go ahead.
So Definitely expungement clinics. I actually have someone there at my kind of health that will have some information on how to start the process, because we know it's a lot of us, black and brown, that are incarcerated for marijuana. And
Mm-hmm.
here we are in this state. We know that it's legal, not legal federally, but however, we're able to have this market, this industry in our state, and we still have people locked up for it. So just starting there with the expungement clinics, I think they need to be popping up in our community, especially
Mm-hmm.
pretty regularly, to get some people out a second chance. So expungement, social equity, social justice, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. We got to let people know that it is an opportunity where they could get their records expunged and even be able to work in the industry. Because let's talk about, if you have a felony, you can't work in the cannabis industry, right?
I mean, you really can't do much at all with the
Right,
criminal record. Yeah.
right.
So now you got people in jail over a plant that you made legal that people are making millions of dollars on, and they don't even have the ability to go work at a fast food restaurant because now they've been eternally stigmatized for the
Right.
rest of their lifetime. In addition to that, like, you got to think about the psychological prison that people go through once
Mm,
they've gone into prison. You're not the same person that you were when you went in as when you come out. You get 20
right.
years, 10 years over a plant that y'all made legal, and now here I am. Even if you did give me a job, I probably can't function because I've been so constrained for X amount of years, and now I
Mhm.
don't know what to do with this freedom. And so, like, we see, so now we're talking generations of
Right.
people, because if it's your dad or your grandfather who was the one that went to jail, now you came up in a one person household or whatever,
Exactly.
and you're dealing with the fact that your dad might have been in jail or whoever it was, and now you're dealing with daddy issues or lack of trust in the system or whatever it is. And so, I mean, I think the trickle down effect, I think we know it, but I don't know if it gets talked about enough.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And I think we have to change that.
Mhm. Mhm. I mean, and that's why, like, just having conversations like this is important, because being able
Absolutely.
to quantify, all the aspects of impact, right? So when we talk about business, we talk about impact. How are we trying to help? How are we trying to impact? But how do we address and have conversation around the injustice that has been done to us without us taking it personal?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us more about your event. Like, you kind of touched on some of the things that you plan to include, but, like, give us a little bit more.
So we got a great agenda. We have Ramona Gurley from Mindful Health. She's actually a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. Coming to talk about therapy, her practice. We got quite a few physicians coming in that actually be pre-certifying patients. We'll have someone there to help, guide them through the application process, because in the state of Mississippi, you do have to register online. And so that's a challenge for a lot of elderly community, because they don't have access to, the internet most of the time, or they're not tech savvy or phone, or. So we're gonna have some people there to help with that. We're also doing blood pressure screenings. Like I said, we are nurses. Cannabis is medicine, and we're doing the overall holistic, because that's what it's about.
Mhm.
Um, Doing a lot of testing. I got quite a few vendors. I also have Magnolia Healing, which is a dispensary. Um, they'll come and talk about their products. They have excellent bud tenders, who will actually be talking about some of the things that they're seeing come in, and what's working for the patients. I got a full agenda. Like I said, I got quite a few speakers that come in to talk about anything from mental health to actually how to certify. I'm going to be doing a patient and product session. So we got a lot of giveaways. Just spreading all this, the wonderful. We're celebrating the plant. We're gonna connect the public to what we have going on in healthcare.
Yeah, no, I think that's dope. I think that's amazing, and I think it's much needed. And so I guess the one thing I want to know is a little bit more about you. Tell me about like just your overall journey and how you got to being where you are today.
Absolutely. I grew up in a home where actually uh it was four siblings, and pretty much my mom passed away when I was young. It was a trying time for me. I was about 14, and one of the things that I leaned on was cannabis. I was introduced to it at a young age, and but it got me through some stressful times. It was times where, I felt like I was just so depressed, and it gave me that mood changer that I needed to get up and go.
Mhm.
Caused me to be very determined, creativity at the most.
Yeah.
um, but just grew up around it. A couple family members, and I always wanted to be a nurse because my mom, I took care of her. She was on dialysis, and so that inspired me to do what I do now. And as I took this journey, what brought me into the cannabis space as a nurse were, I had family members that were just like, oh, I'm always, my legs are always aching, my feet are always aching, I always got back pains. And I was like, you know what? I think I can mix up something for that.
Yeah.
So got into the CBD market. I do work for a botany group. I see I'm all over the place. So definitely have to talk about that. We have a cultivation facility up and coming. Um, Me and some family members just got together and we was like, you know what, we can make a difference with this. We
Yeah.
can actually do this. Let's build this empire. We're gonna take it brick by brick, and that's what we're doing. And we built a cultivation facility on some family property, and
Wow.
we have a lot, to look forward to. We starting out micro. We're gonna get some nice strains in there, quality over quantity, and we're gonna grow, and it's gonna give back to our family for generational wealth. That's what I aspire to, and that's what brought me here. Like I said, I decided to, make it work, try to start my own consultant. Uh, Started out making my own products. We also have a hemp farm as well. We have hemp license.
Mhm.
Started using that, making CBD products. And then it just went from there, Ash.
Oh, that's what's up. I love that. It's I love to hear about the journey of it all because I feel like a lot of times we're like here and we're doing something amazing, but we don't really account for how far we've come. The other
Right.
thing I wanted to say is that I love that you use the word empire. Yes,
Yes.
own that.
Why not?
Yes.
Why not? Right. Right.
um,
What
it's
you tell the tribe, we got this.
Yes, yes, we do. You know what? Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like, the more that you're able to connect and like express and uplift and build each other up, the more expansive like your word can go. And like I truly believe
Right.
that. And so it's one thing to have conversation with people. And usually, at least this is what happened with me. Like I would have conversation with people and they didn't really understand what I like, why I was so excited or like what I meant or what
Your
I
passion.
to do. Yeah.
Yes.
And because they love me, they would support me, obviously, but they still just didn't get it. And it wasn't until those moments where like I'm talking and they're like, oh, okay, like I love that idea. And I was like, whoa, like you're the first person, or that's the first time I've heard something like that, where my vision wasn't just oh, okay, Ash, what you doing again? It's more like, oh, yes, I see that too, and
Yes.
so that's part of the value of being a part of the tribe, in my opinion. Being
Understanding.
able,
Yep.
yes, to like vibe off of people, to like grow
Hmm.
your ideas, to make them bigger than they once were, because we all bounce off of each other. We see
Right.
things very similarly. We're doing things differently. We have different visions for ourselves, but we all know the end goal and the end game. And so for you is to build this empire, baby,
Absolutely.
baby.
Let's go, Ash.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
So tell me, like, what has been some of the biggest challenges that you've had to deal with over,
Um,
your journey?
I would say one of the challenges, and I think this kind of fest is gonna be something that's gonna help bridge that. Is just breaking that barrier to get more people to kind of come forward. It's almost like it's a blind side. We don't talk about cannabis, you don't talk about it, but just being able to have that conversation. The stigma is real.
Mm-hmm.
However, we have a lot of kind of curious people. Let's keep it real, and just kind of bridging that. Also, we have a lot of barriers where, people are still going to go to the black market, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, they have to understand you don't know where it's coming from. They lacing it with fentanyl, all of these other things. So just having an education to know there's dispensaries here, this is safe for medication, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think the stigma is a big deal. And you're right. As soon as I entered into this space, all of a sudden I found out everybody smoked weed.
Yeah.
Everybody. Like it's no it's very few times where I've had a conversation with somebody about what I do, and they would look at me funny when I would first start the conversation, but by the time I was done talking about it, they'd be like, yeah, because it's one time. That's
Mm-hmm.
usually how that conversation go.
Right.
And it's because they're trying to pretend like that's not what they do, because they think it's a bad thing. They think they're doing something bad because we've been told that it was bad, but in all actuality everybody's doing it. It's just nobody's talking about it.
Right. So being comfortable to have that conversation is, a barrier, especially in the healthcare, you know, getting those physicians on board.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and then we have to go through all the years of indoctrination in our training. And so we had already been told, like, if your patient's cannabinoids show up positive, or this or that, we're supposed to act or behave a certain way, or we think it's bad in how we interact with the patients. And so it does make it hard to get physicians on board, because if you're the one that's presenting this for the first time, then what incentive do they have to believe you, considering they just spent X amount of years learning what they've already learned?
Right. Especially when you're bringing in the data and the facts.
Mm-hmm. 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 So it's just an interesting phenomenon. I think we talked about in a group one day where somebody was like, the stigma is what makes this hard. But
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, I feel like the stigma is what makes us valuable,
Mm-hmm.
because if we're the most trusted profession, it is our duty to educate and inform what we understand about the human
Absolutely.
body, and give people freedom of choice, and to not judge them, and to allow them to choose what they're going to choose for their own bodies. Right?
Absolutely.
Does that mean that every patient needs cannabis? No, it doesn't. Nobody said that. But can you learn more about it? Yeah, heck yeah.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So anything else you want to share with anybody?
I'm just excited to be here. This is a
Okay.
good moment.
Okay. Is this your first time doing anything live like this?
It is actually.
Okay. How you
I
feeling?
enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. I'd rather have it with my girl.
Yeah.
Cannabis school is working, so nurses come aboard. That's another thing. We need some more nurses in the cannabis space. So
Mhm.
come on.
Yeah.
Um, you actually learn a lot more about yourself, and it's growth. Self growth in you. So I have not done this before, but I actually enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good time. It's definitely a good time. And you're right, it is a lot of personal growth. The biggest hurdle, I think, in the beginning, and you already touched on it, or we just talked about it, is just overcoming the burden of stigma within
Mhm.
ourselves, because I think a lot of us are actually fighting our own consciousness, because we think one thing is true, but we know another thing is true. And
Right.
so, being able to accept what we understand to be true and move forward knowing our purpose, I think, it takes a lot of work to get there. And, I think it's a big step that you've taken to coming on here live to share your story, to talk about your business, talk about some of your challenges. That's not easy. Being able to vocalize and let people know, that's not easy. And so for that, I think you deserve a congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
Okay.
Enjoyed it. Absolutely.
Anything else? Well, how can people reach you? Tell us how people can reach you, where they can find your event in case anybody happens to be in Mississippi.
Absolutely. So we will be at the Jackson County Fairground on April the 29th. That is the next Saturday. That is our Canna Help Fest. And then we'll also be in Biloxi, Mississippi at the Biloxi Town Green. That's going to be a vibe as well. And that is this Saturday. So I can be reached. You can check my website out at herbalstohealth.com. It has anything from appointments to helping with the MMJ cards. We got some products on there, and we list anything about our local events. And we're going to be updating it with some great information about cannabis and how it can benefit you. So check us out. Looking forward to it. Absolutely. That's how you can reach us.
All right, cool. Thank you so much for being on here. And for any of you nurses who are interested in joining the Cannabis Nursing School, you can go to join.cannabisnursingschool.com, or you could just ask me a question because I'll be answering questions in my DMs all the time. So just let me know. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all soon.
Bye bye.